All right, all right. What's going on, everybody? No BS Wednesday. I'm gonna get a little bit of a drink here while we get some people that come in. Got one person on. Will, what's up, man? Will, how are you doing? All right. I'm going to wait for... There's Darren. What's up? How are you doing? Getting that shake in, exactly. It's actually an energy drink that I'm finishing because I didn't finish it earlier. I feel like I could use some energy. So it's been a long day, but a good day. So what's up with you guys? How's your day been? Let's just wait a little bit longer so that we can get some people coming in. JT, what's up? All right. Darren, how are you doing? How was your day? Anytime selling is mentioned, I have to tune in. Awesome, good. Well, I'm glad to have you. I'm glad to have you on there. But all right, JT, Darren, and Will. We'll go ahead and get started as people get rolling in here. But I wanted to first kind of start off in regards to selling. I put on this shirt right before because I wanted to start off with talking about this. Every second, every day. It's something that I feel like selling is, and something that I've come to the realization that selling really actually has to be every second, every day type of thing. And this is no BS Wednesday, so I'm not going to BS with you guys, right? So every second of every day, and what do I mean by that? Something that I've really come to terms with is something that I've really come to terms with is that selling is something that we all do more on a regular basis than we might think. And can you all hear me okay, by the way? With this mic, can everybody hear me okay? Belisa, what's up? How are you doing? But selling is something that we do every single day, no matter whether we or like to look at it that way or not. Selling is simply something that we do on a regular basis. And now I gave a little bit about this before I came up here, and I want you guys to think about think for those of you that have spouses that are watching, of the 5 of you watching, when you're trying to pick a restaurant, for example. And you're saying something to your wife, and your husband's saying something to you, or vice versa. You're basically selling them on your choice. Or if you've got somebody in your family that just has a tough time making decisions, then obviously that makes the sale easier. But that is technically selling. Another thing that just happened downstairs, my wife is hoping that she will be able to come to SSPT Live. And she was showing me these bathing suits. They have mother and son matching bathing suits. And she was showing them to me, and she was like, oh, this will be perfect for SSPT Live. And I was just like, absolutely not. Here's why. Our son doesn't need to be matching his mom. Come on now. I know he's only 3 months old, but he doesn't need to be matching his mom. I'm selling my wife on why I don't think that's a good idea. I think he should have his own bathing suit, be his own man, right? He doesn't need to be matching his mom, So I was selling my mom. Selling my wife on that. I was selling my wife on my position on that, on my thoughts on that, and why he should maybe get a different bathing suit. Think about marriage. You're selling your partner. Belisa, you're selling your partner, or whoever you choose to be married to. You're selling them on being married to them the rest of your life. That's a big sale right there. You're selling them on that. So this is something that is very, 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 very important. And the more that you can start realizing that sales is something that you do on a regular basis, and that becoming better at sales will actually make you better in all areas of your life. That's one thing from diving into sales processes and different things like that. I'm like, wow, I was reading a sales book the other day, and it was talking about how to convince your children. How to convince your children, because that's technically sales. And so I was really into it. I was like, oh my gosh, this is stuff I'm going to have to know when my boy can actually talk. I'm going to have to be able to convince him on, this is the right way, or this is the right thing to do, or whatever it may be, as I'm trying to teach him lessons along the way, right? So sales is something that we do no matter what. No matter if we like to look at ourselves as a salesperson or not, it is something that we do on a regular basis. But Lisa, exactly. Most of us don't like sales, especially us as PTs. We look at it as this evil thing, this slimy thing. We immediately bring a picture up of a car salesman that maybe gave us a bad deal in the past, and that's what we see as selling. But that's simply not what it is. So I wanted to start with, I think a lot of PTs think about selling and they think, okay, all I really need to do is just show everybody how amazing of a physical therapist that I can be, and then I will sell them on my services. And I'm here to tell you guys that is just not the case. People will not buy from you just because you're the most amazing physical therapist. How many of you guys know physical therapists that are like the best kept secret? Or the best kept secret because they may not know how to sell, but they think that maybe just because they're really good at physical therapy, that means that's all they need to know how to do, and they don't need to know how to sell, and that they're not salesmen because they're just really, really, really good at what they do. I've heard this from quite a few physical therapists, especially when I bring up selling and learning actually how to have a sales process in your practice. I mean, for those of you watching, for those of you that know business owners, do you feel like, or specifically private practice owners, have you ever talked to them and found out if they have an actual sales process for their patients? If you have or if you haven't, put a comment in the comment section and let me know, because I'm interested. I honestly am. I want to know if other people have talked to practice owners that do, but from some that I have, it's not something that typically comes up is, oh, I need to have a sales process that I take my patient through, because something that we all pride ourselves on is not having anything cookie cutter, which that's 100% true. But if you have a proven sales process, I have proven to myself time and time again that it works, that my sales process works. Now, Will's actually watching this, working on different things such as an online business that has proven to be an entirely different area of sales that has kind of blown my mind. So that area of sales is somewhere that I've had to learn more about. But in regards to the private practice or concierge practice, I feel like I've figured out my sales process. So that's kind of what I want to share with you guys a little bit more about the sales process that I go through and kind of that intro to selling, so that you guys can start getting some thoughts rolling in your head for how you can apply it in your own practice. Okay? So, I want to say one thing is before we kind of dive into that, is the number one thing that we're selling our patients on is what they actually want. What do they actually want? What is the true thing that they actually want? Lots of you that have talked to me on the phone know that I'll help you to dive deep, to go a little bit further into what does your patient actually want from you? Not just to get out of pain, not just to fix this problem, but what is the reason that they actually want to see you? What is that reason? That's what we're selling them on. And so I like to just call it like, that is their dream. That is their dream transformation. And something that I've really learned along the way is that no dream has any value until it becomes a reality. I've learned this in my own life, and something that I've learned the hard way is I used to be a dreamer, and now I consider myself more of a doer. No dream really has any meaning until it becomes a reality in our life. If it's just a dream, it's just a dream. It's just a far off dream. But most of us are working towards making our dreams become a reality. So dreams don't really mean anything until they become a reality. So our patient's dream transformation doesn't really mean anything to them until it becomes a reality. So we have to show them through a sales process, through the process of our evaluation, showing them how they're going to get their transformation and get them thinking about that transformation and how you're going to be the one to let them achieve that. So I don't want you guys to undervalue. I wrote this on the message here. I don't want you guys to, or any physical therapist, to undervalue or underestimate sales, because it has taken me. I mean, I'm in my third year of my practice, and I feel like it's taken me up until, honestly, about a year ago to figure out like a sales process that I can go through where I have like 99% certainty whenever I get a warm referral or a lead and I go into their home, I have that certainty and confidence that I know I'm going to be able to walk out of that visit with a signed plan of care. And that's what I want for every single one of you guys, is that certainty and confidence that it's going to happen. Not, oh, well, I've got an evaluation, but I really hope that they sign up for services with me. I really hope that they sign up for that paid visit with me. Just hoping and hoping that your skills will show off why they need to pay you is just simply not enough. So please don't underestimate this, undervalue the importance of selling, because in order to become good at selling, you have to actively pursue selling. And that's something that I've learned consistently over the last 2.5 years. And I've had to actively pursue it to become better at it. I've had multiple people coach me on this. I've read probably over 10 books on selling. Like, I'm actively pursuing it because I know I still don't know enough. But I'm going to share with you guys what, up to this point, what I've figured out. Okay, is that fair enough? Again, this is no BS. I'm not going to tell you guys that I'm a complete expert on selling. I'm going to tell you what I know and what's working. And I can tell you with a fact that I when I walk into a patient's home, I have confidence and certainty that they're going to be able to sign a plan of care with me. So, what do we need to do? First, decide right now that you're going to actively pursue selling in a consistent way in your practice. That you're not going to stop learning, and you're never going to say to yourself, I've got it all figured out. Patients are just going to flow in and sign these high dollar plan of cares because I'm good at what I do. That's just not the case. So please take that out of your mind and realize that that's the case, and realize that every single one of us needs help with sales. Okay? And then let's just start with number one. What do we need to do first? What is the main thing that we're trying to do? And that's what I told you guys. We're trying to figure out what they want. So how do we do that? When we're first listening to a patient, when we're first going through our subjective or all that crap that very specific processes that they teach us to go through in an evaluation in school, that subjective portion, when you're listening, I think, it could be the most valuable portion of our entire assessment, our entire evaluation. Belisa, if you want to be the note taker, I would love that. If somebody wants to take notes, that would be incredibly helpful to people that are not able to get on here. But number one is we want to listen, and then what we're trying to figure out from that listening is what is the one thing that they want. So you can find that out through a lot of questions, but you should be listening. And they're probably going to tell you if you're listening enough to what they're talking about. They're probably going to tell you what it is that they want, what activity they want to get back to, why they're actually reaching out to you. And if they're not going deep enough, then you need to ask questions such as, why did you reach out to me? Why do you want my services? Why do you want my services specifically? And then one other really good question that I ask all of my patients is, and I want you guys to write this down. So Belisa, if you're the note taker, write this question down. Obviously it'll be specific to each one of you, but I always ask this question. What needs to happen? So let's just for some reason I always use the name Kathy. Kathy, it could be because it's one of my patients right now, but Kathy, let's just say you and I decided to work together. What needs to happen over the course of our plan of care? Let's say we work together for 2 months. What needs to happen from now, this evaluation where we're talking, and until 2 months from now? What needs to happen in that span of time for you to say, wow, that was well worth working with Josh and paying the extra money to invest in myself? So you can word that however you'd like, but basically you're asking what needs to happen for you to look at this as a success? What needs to happen for you to look at our plan of care as a success? What needs to happen in that in that amount of time? And that's when the gold can come out. That's when, your prized possession, when you can actually get down to the root cause of why that patient is actually seeking you out for your services, the true cause, not any of this fluff that some people will put out, but the true cause that they're actually reaching out to you. That is number one. We have to listen and we have to figure that out, and that takes a lot of skill, because lots of us as physical therapists, including myself, I love to jump in and tell people what I think, because I've got a lot of thoughts going on up here, and especially when a patient is telling me all this information, lots of times I want to be like, oh, I know exactly what's going on, and get them excited. But I've learned to just sit back and listen and jot a few things down if I need to, but usually I don't really have to. I truly believe if you're intently listening to a patient, you shouldn't have to write a damn thing down. Like, if you're intently listening to a conversation and you know what you're looking for, which is the primary reason that they are searching you out for your services, that they are choosing you over somebody else, what is that primary reason? Then that is what you need to cling on to and basically hold on for later. So you keep that into your brain, and this is the first part of the sales process. Okay, we need to figure out what do they want, because it doesn't matter what we want. It does not matter at all if we have this grand plan of care and we believe that they can get to a pain-free area after 2 months. Nobody cares about that. They just don't. There's always something that they care about more. Now, your chronic pain patients, of course, pain's probably a pretty big deal to them. But think about those chronic pain patients. What is it really that chronic pain is stopping them from doing? What is it really? I've got plenty of chronic pain patients right now, and I can tell you one right now, Steve, his name is. Steve's main problem is that he gets he's a cyclist, and he's in his late 60s. He gets incredibly embarrassed when he can't keep up with his friends while he's cycling because of his chronic pain. Sometimes when he goes on his 100-mile rides, that his pain gets so bad that he has to stop or he has to slow down. That is incredibly embarrassing to him, and that is the core reason. That's the emotional reason that he wants to work with me. So finding that core reason as to why you're working with that patient, that is number one. And then I'm going to take you guys through kind of a sales process. I read, please let me know if you've read this book. I read a book quite a while ago that I think changed my entire mindset about selling and changed my entire mindset about maybe implementing a sales process into my practice. And the book's called Sell or Be Sold by Grant Cardone. Have any of you guys read this book? If you have, go ahead and put a hands up emoji, or just say, yes, I've read that book. Let me know. I want to know if anybody has read that book. But it's called Sell or Be Sold by Grant Cardone. And I'm actually going to, by the way, Grant Cardone is freaking brilliant. If any of you guys want to learn, some extra steps about selling, lots of his books are fantastic. They really are. I mean, he's a genius in selling. So I've basically taken that and kind of adapted it to my concierge practice. And so I kind of have these 7 steps adapted from Sell or Be Sold that I apply in my exact physical therapy practice. Okay? So it starts off with some questions. And whoever's writing stuff down, you may want to write this down, because this will be the basis for a lot of you to start creating some type of sales process. Okay? So number 1 is, who are they? Number 1, who is that person? We have to identify who is that person. Remember, listening to what they want. But that usually comes from, who is that person? Are they an 80-year-old woman that's just trying to stay active, or are they a 50-year-old or a 60-year-old man that's really trying to still stay in the game and do activities and do sports and things like that? Who are they? That's number 1. Number 2, what do they want? That's what we just talked about. Hey, Leo, what's up? Thanks for watching. Leo's actually going to be on our podcast tonight, so I'm going to talk with Leo after this. But number 2 is, what do they want? So that's why in our subjective portion of our evaluation, what the heck does the patient want? What do they want? Not what do we want? That's why we shouldn't be doing much talking in that part of your evaluation. You need to figure out what do they want? What is the true reason that they want to work with you? Number 3, why do they want that? So when you find out, okay, Steve wants to be able to power through his rides with his buddies and his wife, I might add, and he hates when his wife beats him on his rides. That's another thing. So why, what do they want? He wants to be able to go through his rides without his pain bothering him. Why does he want it? Because he doesn't want to be embarrassed and he doesn't want to be beat by his wife. Like, that's a true why. He doesn't want to be embarrassed and he doesn't want to be beat by his wife. Like, that is a more of a true why as to what he wants from me, and then why he's searching me out and why he's paying good amounts of money for my services. That's the reason. So figure out who they are in your head, who they are, what do they want, and why do they want that? Why specifically do they want that from you? If you can start figuring those things out, this is the beautiful thing. This can lead into you knowing more about your specific clientele. If you're not asking them why they want to work with you or why they want that specific result, then you're doing yourself a massive disservice, because you need to know these things for your even your future clientele, but clearly for the person that's sitting in front of you. All right, so that was number 3. Number 4, what do I have as a physical therapist that is going to fill those wants? What do you have specifically as a physical therapist that is going to fill those wants? So that want that they want, that's number 2. That want. Number 4 is, what do you have specifically as a physical therapist that is going to help them to fill those wants? So as you're going through that evaluation process, and let's say we're out of the subjective portion and now we're moving on to an actual assessment portion where you're assessing them, as you're figuring out what you believe is wrong with them, what are your tools? What would be their benefit of using you over somebody else? Why should they use you as a physical therapist to fulfill those wants? Okay? Pretty simple so far, right? Pretty simple stuff, but I think it really gives you a step-by-step process, and it has helped me incredibly. But number 5 is the big one, and this is what we're going to talk about a little bit further. Number 5 is, how do I show you what I will do? How do I actually show you what I will do? That is the missing key that I truly believe that a lot of physical therapists are missing out on, is how do we show them what we're going to do? How do we actually show them what that process is going to look like? How do we actually show them what the process they're going to go through to get their transformation? I want to tell you guys something, and I think I've maybe told you this before. I've got some friends that are realtors. I've got some friends that are in the home kind of space. And for those of you that have any realtor friends, or shoot, maybe you're a realtor yourself, one of the biggest keys to selling a person on a home is not the home itself. A good realtor, and I've had lots of friends tell me examples of this and how it's worked with them. I've got a friend up in Washington who is absolutely just crushing his own realtor business. And it's not selling the actual home, it's trying to help the customer envision themselves in that home. So let's say there's a husband and a wife, and they're in a kitchen, and they are, you can tell you've already asked that husband and wife, what's the most important part? And the wife just immediately says, oh, the kitchen. I need a good kitchen. I need to be able to cook. I need to have a good space. So it is a realtor's job to then, he's already realized what do they want, and a good realtor should know, or any good salesman should know, the wife runs the show, right? I can 100% say that. My wife runs the show. We make her happy, boom, we've got the sale. We make her want this house, boom, we've got the sale. Okay, we know what she wants. Now, how are we going to show her how we're going to give her those wants? Once we're in the kitchen showing her that kitchen, we're going to consistently talk about, I'm going to use the word Kathy again. That's the only name that can freaking come to my head. Kathy, Can you envision yourself in this kitchen cooking? Like, look at the stove. Look at the microwave. Look at everything that you have at your fingertips here. How much better is this than your other kitchen? You told me about your last kitchen. Like, could you envision yourself cooking a meal here? Look at all the windows here. You can look out in the backyard, watch your kids. Like, that is what a salesman should be doing, and that's the same process that we should be going through with our patients. So how do we show them that? How do we show them that? Number one, and this is something that I do in my practice, is I have a pricing menu. Actually, I'm sorry, that is not number one. Number one, that's actually number two, is a pricing menu, but let's talk about number one first, because we don't want to get into price quite yet. So number one is basically showing them the steps that's going to look like to work with you. So I truly, and this is something that I teach in my coaching group, I truly believe that everybody needs to have steps to take their patients through to show them how they're going to get their transformation, or show them how they're going to get their desired result. And guys, this does not have to be too complicated, but we've got to have specific steps, whether it's, let's just work on let's just do a rolled ankle, an inflamed ankle. You can almost think about it in our terms, inflammation phase, acute phase, and then healing phase, whatever the heck you want to call it. But we need to come up with phases, at least 3 phases that you take your patients through. And that's as simple as thinking about your typical client that comes through your practice or your business. What does it look like when they come through your business? What are the steps that they go through to basically achieve their desired result? And if you haven't thought about that, then I highly suggest that you basically think about that process and write out that process for your practice. So have at least a 3-step process that you can show patients. Okay, this is phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. In phase 1, we're going to do this. Phase 2, we're going to do this. And then phase 3, this is when we're going to go all out, and you should be, your inflammation should be gone, range of motion should be back, and we're just going to work on strengthening. Like, if you can take your patients through those 3 phases and say, okay, Kathy, phase 1, exactly like a pyramid. Yeah. So that is something that's taught by Greg Todd, is the pyramid. But before I knew Greg, I was doing 3 phases, and for me, it's always worked. A pyramid is incredible because it actually takes them through 9 phases. But I'm just talking about at a minimum of 3 phases to take your patients through, and they can be extremely simple. But this is basically how you sell them on those phases. Okay, Kathy, this is your problem right now. Phase 1, it looks like this. It typically takes patients about 4 weeks to get through this phase. Phase 2 looks like this. It typically takes patients about 2 to 4 weeks to get through this phase. Phase 3 is basically full out strengthening. This is the phase that will look more like a personal training session with me. And this phase basically is at a minimum of 4 weeks and at a maximum of unlimited, because I truly believe that strengthening never stops, especially if you want to stop an injury from happening in the future. So you take them through those phases, and you show them, okay, hey, when we get to the end of this phase, this is where I want you to be. When we get to the end of phase 2, this is where I want you to be. When we get to the end of phase 3, this is exactly where I want you to be. That paints them a complete picture, and it helps a lot if you have this on a piece of paper, because people are more visual learners than they are listening. And I'll tell you guys this right here, and I actually talked with one of my coaching students about this today, is people will get to a point that they start to tune you out a little bit, especially if you're talking too much. So we listen to them, we figure out what they want, how we're going to give it to them, and then we show it to them on paper, how we're going to get them to their desired result, what that looks like for most of our patients. And obviously it's going to look different for each patient, and that's why you have to customize it for each patient. So we show them how we're going to get them to that desired result, and then we make, that's number 5. How am I going to show that patient how to get to their desired result? Number 6 is make an offer. So we have to be able to get to this point a little bit quicker than most of us normally are. I've learned that the quicker that I can kind of get into the nitty gritty of how I'm going to be able to show them their desired result, and then also second, making an offer. The quicker that I can get into that, usually the better. Because a patient wants to know those two things. How are you going to help me get to my desired result, my desired dream? How are you going to get me to do that? And then second, what's your price, and what's how much is this going to cost me? Is this enough? Are you giving me enough value for what you're going to charge me? I don't even know your price yet. So number 6 is make an offer. And that's when I have a pricing menu, because I truly believe that people need to look at it. So my pricing menu basically has my price per visit, and then it also has my monthly package, and then my my monthly package, which where they can see me for up to 8 visits a month, and then my other continuity program, which is a once a month package visit. So those are on there, but I typically, if somebody's coming to me for an injury, I'm not telling them that that's their best option yet. So I'm simply just setting them up with a plan of care, and I'll tell them, look, this is my price per visit, but to go through my 3 phases and to get you to the point that you want to get to, it is going to be X amount of visits. It's going to be 12 visits. It's going to be 16 visits. And I want to address that real quick, is I truly believe to get people better with very, with back pain, with injuries like that, to get people better and then to help them to not have that problem in the future, there's a lot more visits needed than freaking 4 visits. I just talked to someone the other day. It was a physical therapist and a massage therapist, and they were like going off and telling me that they can basically fix a typical back pain patient in 4 visits, and then they're out their door, and they were priding themselves on that. And I was like, and I asked them the question, I was like, hey guys, like that's awesome. You guys seem like really good at what you do. Do you feel like that patient's ever going to have that problem again though? And they didn't really know what to say. They had a pretty good answer, but they didn't really know exactly what to say because they hadn't been asked that question before. Is that patient going to actually come back to you again with that problem in the future with just 4 visits? Because you guys know, and I know, that to actually strengthen a person, to strengthen the muscles around an injury, around a joint, it takes a heck of a lot more than 4 visits. So being more realistic with our plan of care to show a patient, look, this is your complete plan of care. This is how you're actually going to get out of pain, number 1, but then also not have this injury again. That's how confident I am in my process. And so you show that to them, you make them an offer, and then you close the deal. And how do you close the deal? You had to figure out, number 2 of the sales process is basically, what do they want? You figure out in that first subjective portion of your exam, what does the patient want? You remember I told you guys, keep that in the back of your head. And then when you're at the back end of the sales process, you've already shown them how you're going to do it for them. And then you have also made an offer to them and what it's going to take to actually do that. You've made your offer. How do you close people? How do you actually close people? And so my specific close that I use with patients is I basically ask them, look, this is my process I take my patients through. This is how many visits I believe it's going to take you to get better and to basically achieve your desired result. Steve, your goal is to basically be able to go on rides and not have chronic pain and not be embarrassed by your friends and certainly not be embarrassed by your wife beating you on rides, right? That's your goal. That's what you told me was your desired result of working with me. Is it worth $2,500 for you to have that desired result? Is it worth $2,500 to you to be able to go on rides without pain and to go on rides knowing how to control your pain, and to go on rides and be able to enjoy it with your buddies without having to worry about your pain? Is that worth $2,500 to you? So you're using what they actually want, what you actually found that they truly, truly, truly want, that should have an emotional attachment to it. You're using that to them close them, if you want to use that word. I don't like the word close because it makes, I don't know, some of those salesy words just drive me nuts. But all we're doing is we're persuading our patient. And I want to talk about that real quick. This is what I wanted to chat with you guys a little bit about. And when we came to this portion is we are persuading our patients, and we truly have not the right, but we have the obligation to sell our patients on a plan of care. Because I know, And you guys know that lots of us as concierge physical therapists are a better option than a lot of things out there. I like to say, and you can look at it as cocky or not, but I kind of continually tell myself that I'm the best option out there for my patients. Because I truly, 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 truly believe that. So when I am selling them on a plan of care, I feel like I have an obligation to sell them on that plan of care because I'm bought into my product. I know that my product or service is good. I know it's really good. And I know that I can get them desired results. And guys, I'm not saying that I don't want you guys to think like, I truly don't believe that I'm a absolutely phenomenal physical therapist. I've got a few things in my tool bag, but I'm a pretty standard physical therapist. I just feel like I have a process that I can take patients through that works. Until you come onto the Denver scene. Exactly, Christine. I have a process that I'm bought into and a service that I'm bought into. So that's one thing in regards to closing a patient is you need to understand that you need to be fully bought in, like fully into your product, like fully into your service and fully confident in what you're going to be able to deliver. If you're not confident in what you're going to be able to deliver, you're going to have a very difficult time selling people on a large plan of care like this. But I want you guys to understand that we have an obligation to sell our patients on these plans of cares because we are a better option for them. And it should truly bug the heck out of you if you're not able to close somebody on a sale. Because you know that you can help them. You know that you can get their desired result much better than the chiropractor down the street that's going to pop their back. You know that they can get them to their desired result, so it should truly bother you if you don't get that sale. And that kind of urgency, it's not desperation, it's just complete confidence in your product and your service and telling them, look, I can get you this desired result through my process. And this one way to show them a little bit more confidence is you can even tell them at this point in the closing process, basically a patient story. Steve, I saw a guy named Kyle last year who is exactly like you. Let me tell you exactly where Kyle is now. Man, I even tell him all the time, I want you to meet Kyle someday because I still have this dream of doing this like patient event where all my patients could get together because I feel like a lot of them are like men in their 55 to 65 range. So I tell him about another patient. I want to tell you where Kyle was, one of my current patients, where he was a year ago and where he is now. And this is what we were able to achieve going through the same process. Obviously, you're a little bit different because we've got a different diagnosis, but I can get you to that point where you're riding again without pain and without difficulty and without fear of hitting high pain levels on a ride and without being embarrassed and without being beat by your wife on a ride. I can get you to that point. Is that worth $2,500 to you? And then be quiet. That's the closing process. Is just being quiet and let them shift through that in their mind. Is that worth it to them? And then one last thing I want you guys to understand is that anybody, and I say this a lot to my coaching group, anybody has the ability to pay for our services. I've had people in low income status, middle income status, high income status pay for my services. They just have to see the value. And the only way that they can actually see the value is if you show them how they're going to get their desired result. And you can, like I said, you can also do that through telling them a patient story that is similar to theirs. Most of us have seen so many patients, whether you saw that patient through your specific practice or if you saw it through a practice where you were working for somebody. Tell them about another patient that was experiencing something like they are and how that patient was able to overcome it with you. That gives people so much more confidence in you that, okay, hey, Kyle was able to do it. I can do it with Josh. You know what? And they'll be going through these questions in their mind. I think $2,500 is worth it to be able to do that. I truly believe that $2,500 is worth it. And guys, I'm talking about a specific patient. Can I tell you guys where Steve is now? Steve is not my classic executive. He's not my classic extremely high-paid executive. He's definitely middle class. Steve continues to see me. And he's actually my longest paying client ever. I've been seeing Steve for over 2 years now. And Steve and I get in some deep conversations when we're working together. I just mainly work with him on strengthening now. But Steve and I get in some deep conversations, and since I was able to get him to that point and help him to achieve what he truly wanted, he wanted to continue working with me, and he actually enjoyed working with me, getting these desired results. And I asked Steve, I was like, Steve, I asked him this honestly a few weeks ago. I was like, why have you worked with me for so long? I've asked him before this question, but I was like, hey, it's been over 2 years. Like, why? What? Like, what's the deal? And he said, basically, he's like, look, Josh, the money that I give you on a monthly basis is basically my wife and I call it like my what did he call it? He called it like his like it's his extra money to do what he would like to do with it, that they save every month for each one of them. But he was like, this is my money that like, I want to do this with you. Like, I want to continue to work with you. I want to continue to strengthen. Like, you're just like the, not hobby, but the desire. Like, think about it. Like for his wife, it was saving money for her to buy clothes and makeup. But for him, he was using his extra money on me because he liked that service and he loved what I was able to do with them. So, spending money. Exactly. That's exactly what I was looking for, Belisa. Spending money. And so I thought that was really powerful and really different. That's something that I haven't heard from too many patients. But I truly believe that it all started with because I focused on what he actually wanted, and we continue to focus on what he wants to continue to push in the right direction. So, with that said, that close is basically just showing the patient what you're going to be able to do for them, what it's going to look like to work with you, how much it's going to cost, and then also maybe throwing in a patient story about somebody similar to them that has experienced similar results or experienced their desired result. That is my sales process. So number one, figuring out in my head as I'm going through this, who are they? Number two, what do they want? Number three, why do they want that? Number four, what do I have as a physical therapist that I can help them to achieve that want? And then number five, how do I show them how I'm going to help them to do that? Number six, make your offer. Number seven, close. Write out that sales process and think about how you guys can start applying that to each one of your practices. But believe me, when you actually have a process and you actually start to dial in things over the course of time, you're going to figure out what works, what doesn't, what certain people responded well to, what certain people didn't respond well to, because every single person is different. Every single person is different. So I think just having a sales process can help you. Going through those 7 steps can help you to basically make tweaks along your way and say, okay, this is good. This was good for me. This statement was good. The way that I did this was good. The way that I listened to this patient was good. I picked up on that want immediately. That's what we need to be doing. So, guys, hey, please, as I'm going through this, I don't see too many questions, but I've been kind of just rattling off on this one. Please let me know if you have any questions in regards to having a sales process for your practice. I know this is intro to selling, so I'm kind of keeping it a little bit more basic before diving in deeper, but I wanted you guys to kind of have a framework for like what a sales process actually should look like for a physical therapy practice. And there's a lot more specific things that can be dove into on that, but that kind of gives you guys a basis to go off of for what a sales process should look like. Now, I want to tell you guys one thing, as I'm waiting for some questions. I don't see any questions, guys. Good question, Leo. Good question. I'm going to answer that in a second. One thing I want you guys to understand and know is that this is not a process that comes overnight. And this is not a process that you're just going to be able to jump into and get it right off of the bat. Like, this is a process that I am continually learning, and I'm still learning right now how to make my sales processes better. Yes, I'm very confident in what I have right now, but I still think there's those changes that can be made better and better and better. Okay? And I know that I need to continually search out becoming a better salesman. because that is what's going to help me to have more success in my businesses and in my practice. And I definitely challenge you guys to do the same, is never, ever stop pursuing selling. If you can consistently pursue selling and become a better salesperson, you will have a successful career as a physical therapist. You will have a successful career in your concierge practice. We just need to learn how to sell. Most of the time, it's not marketing, because when we get our patients in, we have to be able to sell them. And if we've got a high percentage of people that are going from an evaluation to a plan of care, then we need less patients coming through in our marketing. So that's why sales is so incredibly important. Leo, I want to answer your question real quick. Has anyone tried to bargain with you, and how did you amend the offer? Yes. So this used to happen so much more, and I'll tell you guys why I don't believe it happens anymore. This used to happen to me almost every freaking patient that I came across. They would try to bargain with me. They would try to tell me, hey, that's a little bit expensive. Is there, do you have any other package? I've been asked all of it. Is there any way we could do a lower rate? It's me and my husband seeing you. Is there any way that we can have a reduced rate because you're coming to the same home? All of this kind of stuff. And so I think the main one that I received, Leo, was that latter one. I'm coming to the same home to see multiple people. And so I would amend the offer significantly, because my price is $175 a visit, and that has basically my ride time and gas and car expenses. That's kind of built into my price. So I kind of consider that as $25 of my price. So basically what I would do for people in the same home is, I actually still offer this today, is I would actually take off $50 per visit. I know it's a big reduction in price, but basically if I'm seeing two people in the same home, I will charge them $250 for the two visits, whether it takes me an hour and 45 minutes or 2 hours. I'll charge them $250 just because I'm not having to drive. Now that may be something that may come up for a few of you. So I do think that a discount is needed in that way. But because you're not having to account drive time, you're not having to account going to another person's house, you're staying in the same home. And then second is, what about if it's just a single patient that's trying to bargain with me or amend my offer? I used to change it all the time because honestly, I was a weak salesman. There's no other way to put it. I was a weak salesman, and I was not confidently bought into my service yet. So I would amend it all the time. That was one of the biggest mistakes I made in the first year or so of my business, was changing it all the time. All right, yeah, so I'll give it to you for $100 a visit. It was terrible. I don't know what I was doing, but I didn't really have much guidance. So that's why I was doing it. I just figured I needed to get paying patients. So I was constantly kind of changing the price until I realized that is not ethical. That is not what you need to be doing in your practice. You need to have a set price. So that's when I quickly kind of changed routes and said, okay, I need to have a set price and I need to stick with that. And the only way that I will give a discount is for friends and family, and for patients that are being seen in the exact same home. Both of those, friends and family and patients and family that are seen in the same home, they all pay $125 a visit instead of $175, so $50 off. That is the only amendment. That's the only change that I'll make to money anymore. And I'll tell you guys why I don't get this question anymore. I simply don't. And the number one thing is confidence in my service, confidence in my sales process. If I can show that patient what they're going to be able to get, they shouldn't need a damn discount. If I am doing my job and showing them what I can actually do for them, I know I'm worth it. I know I'm going to be able to get them to that desired results. I am worth $175 per visit. I'm not changing that. That's how I approach it now, to where it's not anything to bargain. And then on top of that is, I've basically completely, and guys, this has taken me literally 2 years to get to, I've completely detached my emotion from that price in my practice. Completely. When I tell them the price, that's the price. That's it. There's no changes in it. Take it or leave it. That's it. And with that confidence, that I help my patients to see in my process and my sales process, they buy into that more, and I get less and less questions nowadays about my price. Now, I may have some that still, may tell me, hey, I need to think about this, but I never get anybody that are trying to bargain with my price anymore. If you get people that are bargaining with your price, I'll just tell you guys straight up, you probably haven't done a good enough job explaining to them how confident you are and helping them to achieve their desired result. What's up, Ren? Chelsea, what's going on? All right, I've got time for like one more question because I'm a little long-winded tonight. I have no idea how it's already 6:50. Guys, I love doing this. Thank you all for watching this, by the way. I absolutely love doing this and sharing you guys information, teaching on different topics. That's why I started this group, is I just wanted to be able to teach you guys different things that I've learned over the last few years that have helped me significantly in my practice. So thank you guys for watching. I love having the pricing menu and them seeing the options while at the same time making sure I explain to them what I feel is best for them. Exactly. So and one more thing on this, guys. Like, you should never, ever, I just told this to one of my coaching students today as well, we should never be doing this standing up in front of our patient either. So every single time that I'm pulling out this pricing menu, every single time that I'm pulling out my 3 phases that I take patients through, which I have on a laminated sheet here as well, every time I take them through that on a new evaluation, I will sit next to them and we're going to talk about this almost like it's a business deal. Because this is a big deal for a patient to pay $2,500 or $3,000 for a full plan of care. It's a big deal. And we need to look at it like that. It's a really, really big deal for somebody to give you that much money to want to work with you. So, I always sit my patients down and I've got my 2 sheets and we go over the structure of what it's going to look like, specific to them to make that transformation. And I even have sheets of paper that I bring. I've got a folder that I bring to my patients' houses, and I will even pull out a piece of paper and write on it as well. All right, this is what your plan of care is going to look like. This is how many visits. This is how much it's going to cost. And then I go through that sales process side by side with them, showing them along the way. So I think that's really, really important, is to be able to sit side by side with them and show your patient basically what you're going to do for them. So keep that in mind as well. But yes, a pricing menu is definitely something that I advocate for. I think it's really, really important. All right. It's not a garage. Exactly, Belisa. Like, this is a big deal. Detaching your emotion from the price is key. Absolutely, Darren. Absolutely it is. Oh man, I think we've got some questions. Danielle, how are you doing? Benji, what's up, man? Is marketing to concierge PCP a good start? Absolutely. That's marketing though. We're talking more about a sales process, Benji, than marketing. So absolutely. You guys know how I feel. That's something that I teach to all the people in my coaching group is marketing to concierge PCPs. Confidence in pricing should prevail. Boom. Yes. But you got to give your all. Exactly. Your patients want to see how passionate you are about this. So you've got to be passionate in your service. You simply have to be. So I'll just leave you guys with this, is kind of a recap. I've already gone through the 1 through 7, but I'll do one more recap of that real quick, and then I got to get on a podcast with Leo and David Bailiff. If David's still watching, I swear I'm going to get off and do this podcast in 7 minutes. So here's the sales process. Number 1, who are they? Number 2, what do they want? Number 3, why do they want that specific result? Why do they want that? Number 4, what do I have as a physical therapist that is going to help them to achieve that? Number 5, how do I show them that process of how I'm going to get them to that desired result? Number 6 is make an offer. Number 7 is close that thing. All right, that's the 7 steps. And I will tell you guys, this was kind of basically modified and taken from a book that kind of changed my life in regards to selling, and it is called Sell or Be Sold by Grant Cardone. If you guys have not read that book, please read that book. It's very, very good. And Grant is great to listen to on Audible as well. But the main key that I want you guys, 2 main points. We must show our patients a process in some way. We must show our patients a process for them to basically get an idea of how they're going to be able to get to their desired result. Then number 2, we have to actively pursue becoming a better salesperson. The more that you can actively pursue becoming a better salesperson, the better you are going to be, the more success you're going to have in your practice. All right? I think that's all the questions I've got time for. You guys have an awesome night. Please let me know, please let me know in the comments after this, what is a topic that you want to talk about next week? What are some questions that you still have? What are topics that are unanswered that you want to know more about in your concierge practice? And I'll do my best to address it next week on No BS Wednesday. You guys have an awesome end to your Wednesday. Have a good night. See you, Chelsea. See you, JT. See you, Danielle. See you guys.